Paranormal in Pennsylvania may discuss topics such as suicide, murder, and other potentially upsetting things. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and haunts.
Today's story takes us up north to Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm Sarah.
And I'm David.
Let's get into it. So Erie, Pennsylvania. We have covered a few other locations here. We did the Erie Vampire Crypt, which was forever ago. And then we actually have another one upcoming, Erie Axe Hollow.
Ooh.
Yes. But this one is kind of a fun one. And this is the Brewerie at Union Station in Erie. And a listener sent this to us, and I don't have their username. I am so sorry. If this was you, thank you so much for sending this. I'm really sorry I can't give you any credit. But we did get a chance to stop here on our way to another investigation. So, you had been here before.
Yes, I have.
And did you know anything about the history or haunting when you were there?
Not at all.
So,
well, I knew that it was like built in, obviously an old like train station, but clearly like that's hard to miss. But no, I don't know anything about the real history of it.
Okay. Yeah, and for people that haven't been, it's a really beautiful building, and it still has all of the old signs and stuff. So it'll say like barber shop or restrooms, tickets, billing, stuff like that, like this way for passengers. And it's just really cool that the brewery is in that historical building and that they kept so much of it. The location dates back to December 3rd, 1927, when the building was actually Union Station. Hence the name, the Brewery at Union Station. It replaced Union Depot that had been in the same spot from 1865 to 1925. The New York Central Railroad had decided to build Union Station to help accommodate increasing rail traffic. And the building is huge. The brewery's only one part of it right now, but it actually encompasses 2 city blocks and over 100,000 square feet.
That is a lot.
And I remember when we drove up, I was looking at the building and you were like, oh, it's actually down further, meaning the brewery itself.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, I know from my research, the building itself is 100,000 square feet, which is huge.
And I also know from my personal experience, the brewery was further down.
Mm-hmm. And it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it makes sense that it would be such a large building, because if this was a significant place to stop through, then of course you need to be able to accommodate a ton of passengers. When it was a functioning station, there were newsstands, barber shops, and even a post office run out of here, which makes a lot of sense. News, you could get that right off the train. Post office, send stuff out right there. Barber shop, quick cut before you go on the train. That one's maybe a stretch.
Maybe that was a business. Like, maybe we're wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And that absolutely thrived with that idea.
Well, I was thinking like shoe shines. Like you always see in old movies that people like get their shoes shined at like airports or train stations. So why not a barber shop? I mean, there was a barber shop there. That's factual. But
and to your credit, traveling like on train and such used to be a far bigger deal.
Yeah.
And on airplanes where you used to dress up.
Right. So that's what I was thinking. And probably a special occasion if you're traveling, so you want to look sharp when you get there. There's actually a bomb shelter under this train station, and it's rumored to still be fully stocked and therefore potentially functional.
Stocked with what?
It did not say, it just said fully stocked.
The
station has seen some pretty famous travelers. I was really surprised when I did this research. Franklin D. Roosevelt and Harry Truman both traveled through here. Athletes Jack Dempsey and Babe Ruth also visited. And back when it was Union Depot, Abraham Lincoln was here twice.
Campaigning or?
Just stopping through.
Okay. Yeah, so I wonder if those famous people that came through, do you claim that they were there and they visited because they technically stepped foot onto the track, for instance, or because it passed through, like literally the train came by? Do you count them?
No, it's my understanding that they actually visited the station, like got off the train and went into the station.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But good clarification. The brewery opened in 2006 as Erie's only brew pub at the time. Since then, it has served the local community, and you can stop in for beer and food. According to the brewery website, there have been dozens of deaths in and around this building, so it's no surprise that locals think it to be haunted. And we had a good time there. You tried beer. What was your take?
Beer is good. No, so they actually have their holiday lineup out because it is the holiday time of year. So very festive. Beer was good. I was really surprised by the apple pie beer. I actually don't know what style it was. Might have been just like a lager.
It smelled really good, and it had like a cinnamon sugar rim.
I was very trepidatious going into trying that one, but was pleasantly surprised. That and they had a Belgian dark that I had as well, a milk stout, and then I remember the name of it, but I don't know. I can't say it on the podcast because it includes a naughty word. The pooper is full.
Oh, yeah. And the food was pretty good. And the staff was really friendly. And, you know, when we go places like this, we're taking tons of media, photos, videos, and stuff. And they were really kind to us about that. So, highly recommend.
Yeah. And also they had TVs up around at least close to the bar that were playing the old commercials for the brewery. That was really cool.
It was really cool back from when it was a Union Station, right?
I don't know if it was Union Station or just Union Brewing.
Yeah, well, because the brewery at Union Station was 2006, and those were like really old commercials.
Yeah, like black and white, I don't know, like 50s?
Probably. Yeah, it reminded me of like Tom and Jerry vibes, but black and white.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that was really cool. They clearly lean into the history, and they also lean into the hauntings, because one of their beers is called Apparition Ale, named after their most prominent ghost. And we, of course, love a location that leans into their hauntings. It's named after Clara, who was a young girl who lost her life in a terrible fall down the stairwell there. This happened in the early 1900s, so her ghost actually, or rather her death happened likely when it was Union Depot, before it was ever Union Station. People still report strange feelings in and around the back stairwell, and some people say that if you're walking up the stairs, it feels like someone is sticking out their leg to try and trip you. People also report hearing a young girl giggling, and I thought you would love this ghost, because you love children ghosts.
Everyone's like, oh, it's just a child ghost. The child ghost is trying to add you, like, as a friend, a permanent friend, a forever friend, if you will.
But I feel like your beef with child ghosts is you don't know if it actually is a child. In a scenario like this, when we know that there was Clara who died here, does that change your opinion?
I mean, somewhat, sure, but there's also like other deaths and such, so you don't know. I mean, if this is going to be rather dark. If it was like an orphanage, then probably more credible, because they'd all be children that had passed.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
A wee bit on the dark side for the holiday season.
And it also makes me think of Coulterville Cemetery, where there was allegedly that orphanage there, and there was still ghosts there that weren't children.
Well, that would be because
other people exist in orphanages than just children, David. Someone has to run them. So I think it has to be Clara.
Right. So
because the behaviors, the young girl giggling, the tripping someone gets me. Because is she playing a game or what? Like, no. Does she know what she's doing?
She wants a forever friend, and you are now the next candidate to be forever friend.
That part makes me nervous. If you noticed, we didn't visit the back stairwell while we were there.
I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, well, I did, and I actively chose not to go visit it. A manager here named Caitlin reported that there are other strange happenings, notably objects moving on their own. On one specific occasion, there was an old tin of crackers which she saw fly through the hallway. She attributes this all to the spirit of Clara playing tricks on people, but I do wonder if it's another ghost.
Probably. Well, how high were the crackers?
It didn't say.
So, if it's taller than a small child, then probably.
Well, especially because according to their website, there have been tons of deaths there. So it would make sense that there are a ton of ghosts there.
Did they elaborate on how some of those deaths occurred, or like who died?
No.
Anything?
No, they didn't.
So just like depot accidents?
I'm guessing travel accidents, maybe people were sick. I don't know. But Caitlin has another story. Quote, "One story I have is I was in early at 5 a.m. and I got a phone call, but it wasn't a call. It was a page from my office. Only no one was in the building and no one has a key to my office. It was not only improbable, but impossible that it could be happening. I even had a ghost hunter with me when it happened." End quote. So there was a active investigation happening here, and this happened during the investigation.
Okay.
So their thought was that the investigation stirred up some activity, and there was a ghost in her office that was paging her.
Get these people out of here.
Or just like, fine, you wanted to interact? Ding.
I'm not sure if she was the target audience.
Who do you think was?
I think the ghost hunters.
Maybe to get their attention.
The investigators, I should say. Yeah, to get their attention, because like, fine, you want something? Well, here's something that'll definitely come back to you.
The other thing I was thinking is if the ghost normally is in her office and she, is in there day in and day out, maybe the ghost is like, here's my chance to tell you that I'm here.
Yeah, that's also valid. Again, I wonder, though, how does a ghost know how to use a pager?
I don't know the answer to that.
I guess it depends when the ghost passed. Like, could have been
true.
When pagers were around. It's just always very interesting when the paranormal interacts with electronics.
Mm-hmm. It even could have been someone that previously worked at the brew pub. It doesn't have to be someone that died there when it was a station,
Right. We just don't know.
Yeah. That would be something I would want to look into more, especially if they seemed amicable to discussing stuff. The bartenders here have also reported paranormal experiences. One bartender recalled finding the lights on early one morning. He turned them off, only to return to find them on again shortly after, and he was the only one in the building at the time.
I'm always so quick to be like, well, it's an old building. How old's the wiring? This could just be faulty wiring.
I agree. And is he really sure he was the only one in the building? Is he really sure that he turned them all off? Like, what?
Are you sure you're the only one in the building? Turns out you weren't. Not with paranormal, but like, there's just another person in there who's not supposed to be there.
Well, I'm not even saying it like that. Like, what if the bartender was coming in early to stock the bar and one of the managers was coming in early to plan an event, or a server was coming in early to roll silverware, and you just happened to miss each other, happened to not communicate that you were going to be there, and so you turn on the lights and wonder why they, just got turned off, and then so you turn them on again, and then the bartender thinks it's haunted, and then the server or whoever else it is probably also thinks it's haunted.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you over how cool my idea was. You're perfectly logical of how two people were probably there that worked there at the same time, yada, yada, yada. No. Think of the psychological thriller we have here.
Well, now I feel kind of like wah-wah because I've only really given credence to, I guess 2 hauntings. 3 hauntings. 3 of the 4. Okay.
Yeah, just the wiring one. And that doesn't mean that that is not true. It's just we usually hear things with lights and it's like, well, that's one of the more explainable things.
Yeah,
that can
definitely.
occur.
There have been a number of paranormal investigations held here, actually. During one such investigation, one person separated to go use the bathroom, and they immediately heard footsteps in the bathroom and opened the door, assuming that there was someone else in there. And I think this is interesting because I went to the bathroom twice while we were there, and there's a big sign that says restroom. It looks like it's original, and you go back and there's, gendered bathrooms on either side. And to get into the women's bathroom, there's no door. It just kind of like curves around and is a hallway and then takes you into the stalls. And I can't imagine that the men's is that different.
It's not.
So I don't know what door they're talking about here. Unless there's a secondary bathroom, which could be the case.
Well, wait, they heard footsteps. They opened the door.
Assuming there was going to be someone else in the bathroom.
The stall door? That's what I would think.
But if you assumed someone else was there, why would you open the stall door?
To see who it is.
While someone's peeing? Like, that's where you're losing me.
Or was this a man or a woman?
It didn't say.
Also,
but
you could have been
still.
done with your business, is my point. And just like heard somebody and be like, oh, one of my friends came in.
We're thinking of it differently. You're saying the person is in the stall and opened the door. I'm saying they entered the bathroom, heard the footsteps, and were opening stall door. I thought you were saying opening stall doors that might be in use.
No.
I was like, David.
No, not a psychopath.
I know. I was like, we're not going to be saying this on our podcast.
No.
Okay, I see what you're saying. No, it's my understanding that they entered the bathroom before they did anything else. They heard footsteps. So they opened the door. And I think there might be single-use bathrooms or something somewhere in the station. But there was no one else in the bathroom, and there was no one else in the vicinity, so they chalked up the sound to ghosts.
Maybe?
I know. I do wonder if it could have been an echo, though. Because especially in that main area, there's a really high ceiling. I mean, really everywhere there was a really high ceiling, because when it was a train depot, it was 2 stories. So I could see it being an echo of even their own footsteps that they just didn't realize.
Yeah. Or it could be that person that was not supposed to be there who was there still.
But this is during an investigation.
Yeah.
And I know that we split up during investigations, but for the most part during investigations, you know where your team is because you want to make sure that you can debunk stuff.
Yeah, well, that person did break the first rule of horror movies: don't split up.
So, I don't know. What do you think about these hauntings?
I think some of them sound far more credible. The only issue, I guess I have an issue with the one with the footsteps as well, and the electrical, but otherwise, I mean, there's probably things there. If it is indeed true that a lot of people died there, increases the likelihood someone stuck around. So then it's just a question of like, how active are these spirits here?
I agree. I think there's definitely spirits there. I think Clara for sure. And I think the manager giving 2 separate accounts of hauntings gives it a lot of credit to me. They're there day in and day out. So I'd say haunted.
I would say pending investigation. Maybe. Probably.
And I do have one regret about this location, and it's that we did not try the Apparition Amber Ale while we were there.
Well, plot twist. You order it, and then they just give you an empty mug because it apparated.
It's invisible. Spooky.
Yeah, spooky.
No, but the artwork for the Apparition Ale is actually really cool, though. It features Clara standing on the steps. And we have tons of behind-the-scenes pictures and videos, so be sure to follow us on social media to get that. Thank you for tuning in for this week's episode of Paranormal in Pennsylvania. Tune in next Thursday to see what history and hauntings, and maybe beer, we discuss next. Stay spooky, my friends.